Do you have to have joint dislocations to be diagnosed with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome? Let's talk about it. So honestly, the short answer is no, but you don't have to take my word for it. I'm going to show you exactly why it's a no. And first, I would like to say that I love Morgan, the person who left this comment. She's fantastic. So this is not like a gotcha girl, not at all like that. I study the 2017 diagnostic criteria. I know it inside and out because obviously this is what I do. I don't expect normal humans to know this thing as well as I do. That'd be insane. So yeah, don't take it like that at all. So anyways, let me show you why you don't have to have joint dislocations to be diagnosed with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Let's talk about it. So first things first, in case you don't know, the document behind me, this is the 2017 diagnostic criteria for hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So currently there are 13 types of Ehlers-Danlos syndromes. In my opinion, there are probably going to be more. In my opinion, I feel that hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 3, I feel that there's probably going to be a few different types within that type. I don't think it's just one big type. I feel like if you look at us, those of us with hypermobile type Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I feel that we present in a bunch of different ways. So I feel that we're going to have a bunch of different types, but obviously we don't have a genetic marker yet, right? So as of right now, to be diagnosed with hypermobile type Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, you use the 2017 diagnostic criteria. So this is how people are currently diagnosed with hypermobile type Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. You use this document. And it states right here that any doctor can use this document to diagnose people with hypermobile type Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. You don't have to just be a geneticist or just be a rheumatologist. Any doctor can diagnose you with this condition using this document, but they have to use this document. They can't just use any willy-nilly whatever they want. It has to be this document. And this document has 3 different parts: criterion 1, criterion 2, and criterion 3. Criterion 1, this top piece up here, it's just stating that you have generalized joint hypermobility. So you have to have generalized joint hypermobility. So the majority of the joints in your body have to have a greater than normal range of motion to be diagnosed with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. But with this in mind, you just have to be born with generalized joint hypermobility. Okay, obviously like life happens, right? Maybe you had injuries or you've gotten stiff over time. It explains that up here. Like, you just have to have been born with generalized joint hypermobility, right? Like, obviously life happens and things happen and your hypermobility can change throughout life, right? But as long as you were born with it, like, that's what mostly matters. Okay, anyways, going on to criteria 2. Criterion 2 has 3 different features. Feature A has like 12 different, basically features of hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And you have to have had 5 of these. And then feature B here is just having a positive family history. And then feature C here, this is where they actually mention joint dislocation. So feature C is what we'll be looking at. Excuse me, I got the morning burps. I burp so much in the morning. Sorry, waking up makes me burp. Esophageal dysmotility, what can I say? So feature C, you just have to have had one of these 3 things. So to pass criterion 2, so essentially to be diagnosed with hypermobile type Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, you have to have criterion 1, 2, and 3. You have to have all 3 of these things to have hypermobile type Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So 1, you have to have generalized joint hypermobility. 2, you have to have at least 2 of these 3 things. So either this piece, positive family history, or one of these 3 things. We'll get back to that. And then criterion 3 down below has 3 things, and you have to have all of these things, and it's saying that you don't have like overly like super unusually fragile skin. That would indicate like classical type Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. You can't have any other connective tissue disorder or rheumatological condition like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis. But if you do, you just have to have had features A and feature B. So you have to have 5 of these 12 things and positive family history if you have like a rheumatological condition or another connective tissue disorder. And then this third piece is just stating that you don't have any other sort of hypermobile type genetic connective tissue disorder like Marfan syndrome or osteogenesis imperfecta or Loeys-Dietz or something else that would explain all your symptoms. Like obviously you can't have Marfan syndrome and hypermobile type Ehlers-Danlos syndrome because Marfan syndrome would explain all of these symptoms. You know what I mean? So, okay. So anyways, but what we're going to be focusing on is in criterion 2, feature C is where they talk about joint dislocations. So I'm going to blow this up here for you. Okay, so then we're going to be looking at criterion 2. So that's the second piece of the 2017 diagnostic criteria. So you have to essentially pass, have generalized joint hypermobility, and then you have to pass this criterion to then move on to criterion 3. So then in this criterion, up top, it says that you must have at least 2 of the following features, A, B, and C. Like I said, A, you have to have 5 of these 12 things. B is just having positive family history. And then C, it states that you must have at least 1 of the following. And so there are 3 things here, and this is where they mention joint dislocation. So you just have to have 1 of these 3 things. Let's read through these 3 things that you must have 1 of. So number 1 states that you have musculoskeletal pain in 2 or more limbs recurring daily for at least 3 months. Number 2 is having chronic widespread pain for 3 or more months. And then number 3 is having recurrent joint dislocations or frank joint instability in the absence of trauma. So you must have just 1 of these 3 things. So either you have to have musculoskeletal pain in 2 or more of your limbs for at least 3 months, or you can have chronic widespread pain for 3 or more months, or you can have recurrent joint dislocations or recurrent frank joint instability. I should have said, sorry, recurrent joint dislocations in the absence of trauma or recurrent frank joint instability in the absence of trauma. So you only need 1 of these 3 things. So you don't have to have had joint dislocations. If you have recurrent joint dislocations in the absence of trauma, then that would count for you, right? Then they're boom. Like for me, honestly, I have all 3. I have musculoskeletal pain, I have chronic widespread pain, and then I have recurrent frank joint instability in the absence of trauma. Like my joints just be fucking, okay, well there goes my shoulder, but they're just totally, I mean, my shoulder, my knees do this, like all my joints are just, they're just like, they're coming out of the sockets, they are not stable at all. And actually last night, my right shoulder dislocated in my sleep. It was really painful. And then this morning I had to do a huge, and then it felt better. So obviously sleeping is not a traumatic event. So if your joints are dislocating in your sleep, that's a thing. So I guess that's now a thing I've had that happen to me twice. I don't know, does that count as recurrent? I'm not really sure. I don't really count it. But anyways, so if you just have to have 1 of these 3 things. So you do not have to have had joint dislocations. But if you do, you can count it, but you don't have to. You can have frank joint instability or recurrent joint dislocations or chronic widespread pain or musculoskeletal pain. But you don't even have to have had that. If you have 5 of these features and positive family history, this stuff doesn't even matter. You don't even have to worry about this at all. If you have features A and B, this doesn't even matter. You don't even have to worry about it then. Okay, I'm running out of time though, but I hope this makes sense. Let me know what questions you have. I love you all. Bye.